when Department of Corrections employees are charged with rule violations, what happens?
Sure. So employees aren't charged with any rule violations. Can you clarify what you're asking?
Well, okay. Do you know what work rule violations Sue Novak was alleged to have committed?
No. So work rule violations come in at the end. They don't come in the beginning. So we don't investigate based off work rules.
I think I understand. But I mean, ultimately, the allegation has to be tied to some kind of work rule, right?
In the end, yes. I mean, typically a allegation on the initial phase is either tied into a policy or some act of, you know, they have to tie it to something, correct? But we don't do work rules in the beginning.
Well, so can they just say go investigate and find out I want to get somebody?
No.
Well, I guess my question is they may not do that, but are they able to, based on the answer that you just gave?
No, there has to be an allegation of some sort of misconduct.
Okay, and misconduct would be a work rule violation, right?
Yes.
Is there some kind of misconduct that doesn't involve a work rule violation?
Not that someone can be disciplined for, no.
Okay. So, in order to start an investigation, you've got to have some plausible conception that a work rule violation has happened, right?
I would say that it may have been violated.
Okay. Has there ever been a case where it's been clear to you that no work rule violation had occurred, but you continue to investigate?
No.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
hold on. Can I clarify that?
yes, please.
Okay. So there are many investigations that we do that we determine that no work rules have been, or we recommend that no work rules have been violated. So I guess I was understanding your question maybe differently, but so there are times that the facts lead us that no work rules have been recommended.
And when you say we, you mean you at Internal Affairs, right?
Yes. Sorry, internal affairs.
Okay. So, but that's not the end of it, right? You don't make the final determination, right?
Right. We don't make the decision in terms of work rules or discipline.
Okay. So you could even have determined that a no work rule violation had continued, but continued to investigate, correct?
Yes, I would just say that we recommend that no work rules, and then the determination comes later from other people. Yes.
I understand. Okay. So we're clear that at least now again, I guess let's back up for a second. Based on your knowledge experience at the Department of Corrections, do you have any knowledge of the budgeting process?
Very little.
Okay. Do you have any knowledge of how let's say directly, if a warden can financially on their own initiative have a stun fence replaced?
That I don't know.
Okay, you have no idea.
I don't know.
Okay. Have you ever participated in the budgeting process in any way?
Yes.
Okay. Are you aware of the condition of the fence at Columbia now?
I am not.
No. Okay. Are you aware of whether or not any steps have been taken to upgrade the fence?
I don't know.
Okay. So, um, during the course of this investigation, you learned that the Department of Corrections had been aware of the condition of the fence prior to the tenure of the security director or the warden, right?
Yes.
And yet you continue to investigate, right?
Yes.
Okay. At any time, did you recommend that a charge of gross misconduct for failing to report the condition of the offense, that no discipline be issued?
Can you restate that question,
Sure.
please?
Did you? I'll put in the positive there. Did you recommend any discipline to be issued from as a result of the condition of the offense?
No, I don't recommend discipline as part of my job.
Well, I'm confused because I thought we went over this "we recommend discipline" thing for several minutes there. Did I misunderstand that?
Yes, work rules and discipline are two different things.
Okay. I appreciate that distinction. At any time, did you recommend whether or not you had found a work rule violation with regard to the fence for anybody at Columbia?
I don't recall. I would have to review the document.
Really?
Yes, correct.
Do you have access to that document?
What document specifically are you asking me about?
Whatever document that'll help refresh your recollection on what you recommend, what your recommendation for the work rule violation regarding the fence was.
I'm going to object at this point, Judge.
Novak.
Now we're engaging in discovery.
You're muted, Judge.
Okay, sorry. I said, do you have any information at your hands that would help you remember this?
Well, I can look at the document. However, that doesn't say what I recommended. Always.
Okay, so let's continue.
Uh, I'm sorry, I got a little distracted and confused there on what happened. So she said that she has a document, but is not sure that it's going to help her refresh her recollection what she did.
Correct.
Okay. So is there a document in existence that indicates what your recommendation is on as to this work rule violation?
There's no document that I have that I can be sure that is what I recommended.
Did you ever write down your recommendations?
No.
Did you give them orally to somebody?
No. So I submit the 15807 and then those work rules can get changed. And so I just wouldn't know. The document that I have is the final document.
So that's the document after the secretary got through with it, right?
No, the final sorry, I should clarify. The final document for internal affairs. So that could have been changed by somebody. The document lives on through HR. We are not the records custodian. So that moves on. And the final document is, I believe, held with HR.
So if I understood you correctly, the reason that you're not able to refer back to this document is that although you were in charge and the author of this document at some time, it's now in the custody and control of a different department of the different area of the Department of Corrections, and you're not aware of whether or not they changed anything in that document. Is that right?
That's correct.
Is it usual for the department, the HR, to go and change? And what we're talking about is normally called the final packet. Is that right?
Sure, we can call it that.
I mean, we're on the same page. That the conglomeration of all the 15807s and all the logs and everything else regarding to discipline for an employee, right?
Sure, yes.
Okay, but that doesn't have the routing slips in it, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, doesn't the routing slip indicate what your recommendation is?
I don't know. I don't work with routing slips.
You do know what a routing slip is, right?
I do.
What is it?
It's a document that records the steps taken after the investigation is completed.
And how do you have knowledge of that?
I have knowledge of that just because I participate in some of those steps. However, I don't use the document myself.
Okay. So a routing slip for Sue Novak would include steps that you took during the investigation, right?
No,
Would it have your recommendation on it?
I don't think it contains that, but I'm not certain.
Okay. Would it have the administrator's recommendation on it?
I believe there is a place in the routing slip for an administrator's recommendation. Yes.
And who else?
I believe the DART team has a spot on the routing slip, and I believe the MAT team, and then the final decision by the secretary's office if it goes to that level.
And you said the MAT team, MAT?
Yes.
What does that mean?
It's the management advisory team.
All right. Now you got a new one on me, so I appreciate that.
Sure.
Every little bit helps. You learn something every day. All right. So let's go over who's in the management advisory team, please.
Sure. So typically it is the HR director, Carrie Beyer for DOC, the employment relations chief, Kelly Brown, the someone from legal counsel, which it's typically Andrea Olmanson, the Office of Diversity and Employment Services Director, Tanya Hesselberg, and then I also sit on management advisory team.
Okay. In what capacity?
Are you asking me what capacity I sit on the team?
Exactly.
Sure. So I sit on as the internal affairs director to answer any questions regarding cases, because all of our cases go to Matt.
Okay. And that's because there's always discipline that results from all of your cases or something else?
No. Any case that we conduct goes through Matt, whether or not work rules were recommended or not.
Okay, so sometimes you don't recommend work rules, right?
Yes, absolutely.
It's just in this case you don't remember what you recommended, right?
No, I remember that there were work rules. What I don't remember is the specific information that we recommended as the work rule justification, what the wording was specifically.
Well, so that's why we've been going around and around here, because that's the answer that you gave wasn't responsive to my question. So I guess I can answer that in a different way, ask that in a different way. You know that Sue Novak, for example, was alleged to have violated work rule violations with regard to her knowledge of the condition of the fence, right?
I know that work rules were recommended for Sue Novak. What I don't recall is the specific information that justifies those work rules.
You don't recall if the fence had anything to do with it?
I don't recall specifically in her case if the fence had something to do with it.
And how about the kitchen worker?
I believe the kitchen worker and her knowledge had something to do with it. Yes.
Okay. And do you believe that any Columbia correctional staff, including the warden, was alleged to have violated any work rules with regard to the fence?
I believe so, but I don't recall. I'd have to review the documents to know.
Right, and that's because you recalled earlier your interactions with Mr. Fuchs regarding the incident reports for the fence, right?
I'm not sure how that relates to work rules. I know it was part of our investigation, but I don't know exactly what our justification was.
Okay, but what you're saying is you don't recall the exact words for the justification, not that you don't recall the justification. Isn't that accurate?
No, I wouldn't say that's accurate.
Why not?
I'm not sure because I don't recall if the piece of the knowledge of the fence was included as part of the work rule justification. I don't recall that.
Okay. And you do recall that, or do you recall whether or not the fence was part of the investigation into Sue Novak?
Yes, I believe it was.
Okay. And how could that be the case unless there was an allegation of a work rule violation with regard to the fence?
Oh, so yes, I believe there was certainly an allegation of a work rule violation. What I'm saying I don't recall is what the justification of the work rule that was found to be violated.
And that refers back to what the secretary, the deputy secretary, or even perhaps the division administrator told you was the justification for starting the investigation, right?
Yes.
Okay. But then we're also talking about this point in this process here where you have completed this investigation, or, well, we'll just go back to that. But I guess we're also talking about a point in this investigation where you learned that the issue with the fence predated these employees' tenure, right?
Yes.
Okay. And we also learned that there was a point in this investigation because you read the security audit that you knew that DOC management above the rank of warden was aware of the issue with the fence prior to Sue Novak's tenure as warden, right?
Well, I did not read the security audit.
You glanced at it, right?
Yes.
Okay. Wasn't it your job to read the security audit?
No,
Why not?
I was not conducting the investigation.
Do you know if Mr. Sonnenberg read it?
I do not.
Do you know if anybody in your department read it?
I do not.
Isn't that your job to make sure that it was read?
I'm going to object, asked and answered.
Isn't it the job of that department to make sure that that document was read, ma'am?
I'm going to require you to answer the question, Ms. Preston. Would you consider that to be part of your job to make sure that certain things like reading this audit report was done by your staff before any recommendations or investigation was completed?
If it was pertinent to the investigation, then yes.
And you knew it was pertinent to the investigation, didn't you?
Yes.
Okay. Why did you decide not to read it at that time?
I don't recall, but I don't know who read it. It's been 3+ years.
Did somebody tell you not to read it?
No.
Did somebody? Okay. But you knew independently not to read it. Is that true?
I reviewed it.
Oh, so you did review it.
Yes, I reviewed it, which is what I stated earlier.
No,
I
we've
did
had
not
several
read the-
answers. We've had glanced, we've had a review now, and I didn't read it. Which one of those are true?
I'm going to object, badgering the witness.
Sustained. She has said more than once that she did read parts of it, just not the
Okay.
whole thing.
No, okay. And during none of that review, you learned but you learned that the fence was in this condition prior to Sue Novak's tenure, right?
Yes.
Okay. But you didn't bother to find out exactly when that was the case. Is that what you're saying?
I wasn't doing the investigation. I don't remember if it was determined as part of the investigation when that happened.
Well, that's not actually accurate when you're saying you weren't doing the investigation because you were clearly supervising the investigation, weren't you?
Objection mischaracterizes the testimony.
Do you think she said she was supervising? You were guiding it, correct? Isn't that what you said?
Yes, but I wasn't conducting it.
Okay. So you guided it. What's the difference between guiding and conducting in your mind?
Sure. So conducting means that you complete the interviews, you review all the evidence, you draft the document. Guiding is assisting the people who are doing that previously stated work in anything they need, and assisting them in figuring out next steps.
Yeah. Does Mr. Sonnenberg make the final decision or somebody else?
The final decision in terms of what?
Okay. Well, what is the final result of an investigation at your office?
Do you mean discipline?
We've been
Is there a
clear.
document that ends your investigation that is written?
Yes.
And is that comprising your decision or the decision of your staff or a combination? How does that document, what does it look like? What is it from?
Sure. So I think I was being a little thrown by the word decision. So we, the 15807, we complete all of our required parts. We draft a summary and we recommend work rules. We don't make a decision in terms of like a final decision.
Right, but it's you and nobody else who recommends work rules, right?
No, that's not correct.
Okay. Who from your office can recommend work rules?
The investigators are the ones who recommend the work rules, and then I review them.
Okay. And you're just reviewing them for fun or for some other reason?
No, I review them to make sure the investigation is complete, and sometimes I change the recommendations, or sometimes I keep them.
Okay. Meaning you supervise, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, in this instance, what did you do?
In terms of the work rules?
Right, for Sue Novak.
Sure. I don't remember if I changed them or not.
Okay. What was the end result? Do you recall that?
The end result is that we recommended work rules, and that was forwarded on.
Okay. So if Sue Novak was disciplined for the fence, you would have had to have recommended work rule violations regarding the fence, correct?
No, they could be changed after our recommendation.
Okay. But you don't recall if that happened?
I don't recall.
Did you have any, after you finalized the work rule violations, as we call it, what happens next?
After we submit our case, it goes to the infraction review team.
Okay, and that's the IRT, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, at any time after that point, did you have any conversations with the division administrator regarding your investigation?
Not that I recall.
How about the secretary?
Not that I recall.
Deputy secretary?
Not that I recall.
Okay, but you participated in, did you participate in the IRT meeting?
I did.
Okay. So you have knowledge of the process at that point, right?
Yes.
Okay. At any time during that meeting, did you stand up and say, hey, the condition of this fence was faulty prior to Sue Novak's tenure at the DOC, and the DOC knew about it?
I don't recall specific conversations of that meeting.
Okay. Did you present the security audit at that meeting?
No, I believe it was part of the evidence.
Okay. Was the security audit discussed at that meeting?
I don't recall if it was discussed.
Okay. Did you stand up at any time and waive the security audit during the meeting?
Did I waive the security audit? Is that what you said?
Right.
No,
Okay.
not.
Now let's talk about Doug Percy again. Doug Percy, is your understanding of whether or not Doug Percy admitted to having a conversation with Sue Novak about the kitchen worker prior to the escape or not?
I don't recall what he said.
Okay. And again, you were clear that you were instructed that Doug Percy was not to be investigated for any work rule violation on the orders of the division administrator, right?
I wasn't specifically instructed to not to investigate him. We were just not forwarded an investigation for him.
Right, but that's the same as telling you not to investigate him, right? Because you only investigate people who you have those reviews forwarded to you, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So is that why the department didn't produce any of his phone records?
I don't know.
Okay. Is that why? So, well, I guess let's go look at Mr. Percy's response now. And do you know who Matthew Polson is?
I do.
Okay, who is Matthew Polson?
He's an internal affairs investigator.
Okay. Judge, we're going to go, please, I'm going to call it Exhibit 15, but this is the same area that we were going over with Mr. Percy yesterday.
I think it's Respondents Exhibit 12. Is that correct, Mr. Mullenbach?
Yes, that's.
I believe so.
Okay, 1 second. While we're doing this, Mr. Cross, can you give us an idea of how much longer this is going to go on, if we need to take a break or
I
what?
see that. Yeah, hopefully not more than 45 minutes. I've got phone records as 2 words is a great keyword here. That gets
What is it that you're looking for?
the interview with Mr. Percy, investigatory interview that starts on 5/20 of 2020.
Let's make sure we're at the right place here.
Can I step away for a minute and just grab a Kleenex? Is that okay?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
It's a very long document. Somebody know when the first page of this is?
So it's on my 316, and I'm sorry, but again, phone records is the best keyword search here.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Did you need some water or something too?
No, I'm okay,
Are you
thanks.
looking for this? Okay, I'm really lost. I'm sorry. What did you say the key searches you wanted?
The keyword is phone records.
Am I going? I want to see the front of the document before we go to it so we can make
I
sure for the record.
understand.
what
How
it
about
is.
4/16 of 2020?
Okay.
4/16/2020.
For slash or for hyphen?
Thank you very much. 4/16/2020.